Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the JayBee Milly channel. I am JayBee, and today we're going to be reacting to an interview from 2Fab from Freddie Prinze Jr., of course hosted by Brian Potter Kelly. I apologise if I've pronounced his name wrong, however I will leave all that in the description down below. Huge shout out to that page, huge shout out to Brian. It's really interesting to see all these other interviews, and it's an absolute pleasure to be able to react to them today. So without further ado, a little bit of context. The thing that I do know about this interview, and it's something that's cropped up online, is that it apparently reveals that Freddie Prinze Jr. regretted his role in Scooby. If he was asked to return, he would decline the offer because he felt disrespected by the franchise. And we've seen him come out about this stuff in the past as well. For example, I think it was about 5 months ago now, maybe more, maybe less, he revealed that he was asked to take a pay cut for the sequel so that, you know, his co-stars, I assume Matthew Lillard, Linda Cardellini, Sarah Michelle Gellar, could get a pay rise. So he's had a hard time with the Scooby franchise according to him, so it's going to be cool to really get it from the source's own mouth now. So without further ado, we're going to be reacting to that interview. Thank you so much, and yeah, we'll get on with it.
People always, they keep saying they want an R-rated Scooby Doo, something that maybe James Gunn, obviously James Gunn is very busy right now, but this was pre-DC deal. If he could make some sort of more adult version of Scooby Doo, almost like the Velma cartoon, but you guys as adults now.
Yeah, it wouldn't be something I would do. I have zero interest. I mean, it was tricky. I mean, I've talked about it. It's funny. I said that it was an R-rated script, like, I don't know, 10 years
I listened
ago.
to the Barstool thing too.
Yeah.
So I guess it's difficult to watch these in hindsight without putting my own interviewer hat on myself. I guess for starters, I think it was a bit too much of a cushioned question. It could have been got to a lot sooner, but you know, we do this all the time on our show, even it's completely understandable. I think adding stuff in, like the new Velma show and whatnot, is maybe banking on the fact that Freddie Prinze Jr. is keeping up to date with Scooby, which I'm almost certain he doesn't. But, I mean, this is only a clip from an interview. The rest of the podcast could have mentioned the Velma show, so that's neither here nor there. And again, interrupting him in the middle of his answer is a little bit iffy, but I think it's really interesting to analyse Freddie Prinze Jr.'s body language throughout this, because in the middle of Brian's question, which he begins to formulate really well, you see Freddie Prinze Jr. almost grimace at the idea of Scooby, the thought of Scooby, and so you do kind of see a lot of conflict within Freddie Prinze Jr. in this interview. And so here's a bit of context behind us, really. Now, when we were producing the 20th anniversary interviews for Scooby Doo 2002, we did actually reach out to Freddie Prinze Jr. to see if he would be interested in coming on the show. He did decline, and of course that was disappointing, especially in hindsight when it came out that he was talking negatively about Scooby in other interviews, and so it's almost like I understand that side of things completely, you know, and I respect him so much for that in hindsight, because why would he commit to a Scooby Doo podcast whenever he's asked about Scooby Doo on other interviews? He's not, he's not feeling positively about it, and I guess there's so many other people out there that would decline an interview and say, oh, it's not a big enough channel, this isn't something that's going to matter, but then they're going to go on Twitter or on a bigger platform and say, oh yeah, this is the favourite thing, I've got so many good memories for it. And you know, and I feel like there's a lot of that going on in Hollywood and behind the scenes, so I really do like that Freddie Prinze Jr. is keeping it real here, and it is a shame that he doesn't seem to be having a good experience here. One thing that I think is interesting is that because of that grimace, you're almost certain that there were no pre-established or pre-approved questions beforehand in this interview. I mean, it's something that we don't necessarily insist on, but it's something we like to do in terms of ease, but of course we can go off script if necessary. I just kind of found that it was interesting that this one wasn't, and so really respect to both these people. One, for Brian for presumably coming up with these questions on the spot, and of course to Freddie Prinze Jr. for accepting an interview where he could literally be asked about anything.
And people got super mad at me, right? And then Gunn says it, and they're like, ah! And I was like, wait a minute, I opened that script up for you guys a long time ago, but all right, be mad at me, that's okay. Yeah, it wouldn't be for me, man. Like, there was just too much bait and switch on the first one. They weren't the studio was not honest with me in any way, shape, or form. They were not straightforward in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't, it wasn't the best. I think I've been on 2 jobs where I had regret doing it, and Scooby was one of them.
So this may be the first point that I have to either disagree with Freddie Prinze Jr. on, or maybe just add some context for the audience or something. Now, it's weird, like, disagreeing with him about the situation, because of course nobody knows the situation better than him from his point of view. I wasn't there in the 2002 movie when that was being filmed. I was 4 years old on the other side of the world somewhere, so what do I know? But I guess in terms of specifically what he's referring to, in terms of the bait and switch and the studio not being honest, now, they may well have not been honest with Freddie Prinze Jr. about certain things that he doesn't mention in this interview 100%. I mean, we know Warner Brothers. I'm the last person that will be jumping and defending Warner Brothers. I think it's possible that they were dishonest about stuff, 1,000,000,000%. But in terms of the bait and switch with the R-rated cut, it's a kind of weird thing where, of course, Freddie Prinze Jr. did open up the script for the R-rated cut, which I guess wasn't actually R-rated, it was PG-13, but 100% yes. Freddie Prinze Jr. did open that script, and then it was watered down after the fact, except the thing is that we know it's been public information that it was watered down after negative test screenings, after extreme groups rallied against it, saying it wasn't family friendly, the demonic undertones, and all of that. And so you kind of think, what is Freddie Prinze Jr. classing as dishonesty or a lie? In my book, to be a liar or to be dishonest, you have to knowingly tell a mistruth. Now, I could say something on this show, on this podcast, in this video, that is a complete mistake. So I could say, oh no, Warner Bros. Didn't lie about anything with Freddie Prinze Jr., because the R-rated cut, it happened because of this reason. And that is what I believe, because I just don't know any other points that he's raised. I don't know what Warner Brothers said or didn't say. I only know this one point. Now, that could be wrong if something else were to come to light, but I'm not lying in that moment because I don't know. It's wrong. It's not a lie. Now, in terms of this one point, because again, I'm not disparaging anything else Freddie Prinze Jr. could have been talking about, but in terms of the R-rated cut, do I believe that James Gunn wrote it? Do I believe that Raja Gosnell directed it and filmed the entire movie in the knowledge that, hey, Kent Bader, even though we're filming all this, even though this is all written, the plan is for you to edit all this out at the end? I don't believe that at all. So I don't think the studio can necessarily lie by saying that they wanted to do a more mature adult Scooby. I don't think that James Gunn was lying when he wrote it. I don't think the people that organised the scripts and the sets were lying when they set up an R-rated adult Scooby Doo live action film. But of course it didn't turn out that way for reasons after. So I don't know if that's what's exactly being referenced, but I do kind of want to say I don't know if it's a bait and switch from that point of view, if the intention was to do the script that Freddie Prinze Jr. did open initially.
I didn't fully appreciate Scooby until it was seen and children came up to me and would be like, oh my gosh, I love. And then when I was able to appreciate the experience through their souls, right? Because that's what they're doing. They're bearing their soul. When I was a kid, I watched this and I made my dad watch it 30 times, and they're sharing their life. That's your soul, right?
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden I was like, hey man, like we did good. There's legit millions of people that love this movie. It's not the movie I wanted to make,
right?
But I appreciate that. And it made me change my outlook on it. But I'm a really honest guy, man. Like if I don't want to answer,
we appreciate.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'll just say, hey man, I can't answer that question.
So Freddie Prinze Jr. does something really interesting here, and I think I know why, but it has the knock-on effect of applying something that I don't even think he wanted to imply. And of course, I think the primary reason is that he knows that him talking about Scooby, whether he likes it or not, it is at least in his top 3 most significant roles of all time. I would argue top 2, but there's just so many contenders, at least in terms of the juggernaut. You know, he may not have had a lot of hits, but the hits he did have did hit. So we had I Know What You Did Last Summer, She's All That, we had Scooby Doo, of course. So when I kind of think about this, I'm almost thinking to myself, he knows that somewhere down the line he's going to be doing fan conventions or public appearances, Galaxy Con signings, and what he doesn't want to do is ruin his ability to make money signing Freddie Prinze Jr. as Fred stuff, signing Scooby Doo merchandise by publicly saying he hates Scooby to this day. So I think his kind of point where he says, when kids come up to me and say this, when people have grown up on the movie, that's when I really appreciate it. I think he does mean this. I don't think he's lying for a second, but I do think it was kind of a bit of a PR move on his point, an incredibly smart one. So I do believe him on that point. I believe that he believes that, but also it adds a bit of an effect where we had Brian asking about an adult-centered Scooby-Doo. Freddie Prinze Jr. said he wasn't interested in it, and then went on to say that his favourite part about it is seeing its impact on the kids. So it's almost like, could Brian have followed up saying, well, to that end, if it was a Scooby-Doo 3 that was like the first one and the second one, that was made for kids, for, you know, a new generation of kids, would you be interested? Would Freddie Prinze Jr. then be in a situation where he kind of has to say, you know, maybe, or we'll see, or let me read the script first? I don't know, but I kind of wish that was Brian's follow-up question.
So when I get lied to, you're dead to me. Like, I don't trust you ever again. And I'm telling you, ever again.
Yeah.
So some of those people would have to still be involved if it got remade. I think some people left the studio and then have since come back. And that's not any business I want to be involved in. Like I said, this is my second time around. I'm only going to work with people I love and respect and who love and respect me.
Yeah, it's very difficult to disagree with Freddie Prinze Jr. on this point. It actually reminds me a little bit of watching some of the interviews that Christopher Eccleston's done in the past about returning to Doctor Who, and about how a lot of it is to do with people behind the scenes and some of the higher-ups. And to Freddie Prinze Jr.'s credit, I do think he's pretty spot on about this. So I don't know if this is the same studio. In fact, I'm sure this wasn't Warner Brothers. But we were watching Uncharted with, you know, Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg. Well, it must have been a year ago now. But in the end credits of that, I did see Richard Suckle. And who's the other one? There's Richard Suckle and someone else. They were the producers, and it kind of annoys me that I can't remember that now. But there was definitely Richard Suckle and someone else. I think Chuck Roven. Actually, yeah, Chuck Roven and Rich Suckle. They were the producers or co-producers, executive producers of both the 2002 and 2004 movie. And both of them are still in the biz. Again, I don't know if Uncharted was a Warner Brothers project, so if they do oversee that. But 100% it is possible that they could still be around the scenes. And by no means am I saying that those are the two specific people that Freddie Prinze Jr. has an issue with. But if he's specifically saying in this section of the interview that he doesn't want to be involved with any of that creative team, that must encompass them at some point. So, yeah, that's kind of my only thing with that. Very difficult to disagree with Freddie Prinze Jr. on this point, especially if he's more looking for a fresh start than anything else.
I know whose respect I've earned, and I know people who I would simply ask for the opportunity to earn their respect, right? This whole, like, give me respect. Social media has made dignity and respect mean the same thing. Open a dictionary. You don't have dictionaries anymore. Go on Google it. Look up the definition. They're very different. Dignity is given. Of course, dignity is beautiful. It should be given to everyone you come in contact with. Respect can only be earned. If you give respect, you will be burned every single time. And you can't name a moment in history when respect was given that it worked out. But you can name millions of times when it was earned that it did. So I only want to work with people that I love and respect, or who are looking for an opportunity to earn my respect, and vice versa.
So yeah, that about does it. I'm a big fan of that interview, you know, I think it was really well done. I'd kind of like to see most of it, but I know Freddie Prinze Jr. is into a load of horror movies and WWE stuff that I wouldn't know too much about. So that's probably going to be the only clip that I watch from that interview. But I don't know about this situation. Of course, as a Scooby fan, it's upsetting to hear that he didn't have a good time on the movie. He doesn't look back at it too fondly. And especially that what a lot of people wanted is for them to do the kind of legacy character thing of bringing that whole original cast back, which I think most people can agree was spot on casting. It's a shame that we're probably not going to get that, especially in light of this. And for the record, I don't want them to do a thing where, and again, if we assume Freddie Prinze Jr. is out, we can assume Sarah Michelle Gellar's out. I don't want them to do a thing where they get Matthew Lillard back as Shaggy, Linda Cardellini back as Velma, and then try and recast Daphne and Fred. I think that would be the wrong move. Now, would I be completely against a legacy Scooby Doo movie starring Shaggy, Matthew Lillard, and Velma, Linda Cardellini, and maybe they just say, oh, Fred and Daphne are elsewhere. They're raising kids. They moved back to Spooky Island. It's now a romantic resort. You know what I mean? Like, if that was like a throwaway line there, I wouldn't hate that at all. I think there's a way that they can still do a Scooby-Doo 3 with original cast members, but not necessarily include Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar. But overall, just mad respect to Freddie Prinze Jr. for not being that type of fake person that will, decline things behind the scenes, that will, talk badly about something personally, but then pretend that they love it for monetary value or for fame and stuff like that. Because quite simply, he's right. He doesn't need this type of thing in his life. He wants to do what he wants to do, and I respect that, and I think that we should all respect that as well. And especially in this time where Warner Bros. Are cancelling things left, right, and centre. An awful bad time for Warner Bros. PR. I don't quite know what they're going to do to get back at this, but it's so crazy that all of that controversy around Warner Bros. Comes out, and now Freddie Prinze Jr. is adding his 2 cents into the mix. Really interesting. So, I guess in conclusion, I respect Freddie Prinze Jr. a whole lot after this interview. Does he need my respect? Of course not. The guy goes to bed and wakes up with the last and first thing he sees being Sarah Michelle Gellar. He's winning in life no matter what. He doesn't need some kid's respect from the UK, but he's got it regardless. And so, yeah, I just want to thank him for everything he did with the Scooby movies. Even if he didn't enjoy it in hindsight, at least now he acknowledges, or says that he acknowledges, what it means to people, because I think that that's all people really need. We've got the movies that he did, and do we need more? I guess we don't, but we'd like them. So let me know what you'd think. How would you make a Scooby-Doo 3 without Freddie Prinze Jr.? Would you say it's impossible, or would there be a way that you could see that happening? If you do want to see more, then please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.